Happy New Year, everybody! 2024 is officially here, but before we can get into anything from this brand new year, I need to take a step back and talk about a film from 2023. I'll be honest, I was not planning on making a video on Rebel Moon. I didn't even watch the movie until basically the end of the year. I think it was like 2 days before the year ended that I finally decided to just turn it on because I had nothing else to do. But oh my goodness, it pissed me off so much that I just had to make a video on it. I don't care that it's been out for a few weeks. I need to talk about it. And it's not going to be my typical video that is structured where I go over positives and negatives for the film. I am upset and I want to rant because this movie annoyed me. So get ready for me to complain. And if you don't want to hear it, go somewhere else. The problem with this movie is everything. Like, genuinely, it has very few memorable or redeeming qualities. The biggest thing that I could point to is the visuals are very solid throughout, which I would expect from Zack Snyder. I just think he failed in most other aspects. When I go into a Zack Snyder film, I expect good world building, but this movie just tries to go for way too much and it doesn't world build effectively. I expect interesting characters, and while there is a lot of potential with certain characters, it feels so wasted. I would expect a good villain, but this villain sucks. Like, the villain is actually terrible, and I think that they have really failed at setting up this like larger, grander universe, especially if you are comparing it to something like Star Wars. You're supposed to be setting something up that's huge. You're setting up the Darth Vader, the Emperor Palpatine. This does not do that. You can really just take like anything about this movie and examine it, and it's just bad. Now, those were a lot of general things, so I do want to get a little bit more specific on a couple of things that I hated. First, I want to address a Zack Snyderism that pissed me off in this movie. This is something that he just does in most of his films. It's really just like a staple of him as a director, and I don't usually hate it. This time, I hated it. We know from basically all of his movies that he loves to use his slow motion, which usually is fine. I feel like for the most part, he uses it actually effectively and it helps the story. Like, if he's using slow motion for scenes of the Flash in Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's warranted, right? That makes sense. But in the case of this movie, I feel like it's just being thrown in way too much at like the worst times, and it becomes just really annoying and it doesn't serve a purpose. It's pointless. It's dumb. Second specific thing I want to bring up is the action scenes. Now, for context, there is apparently going to be an extended R-rated director's cut of all of these films that will be released at some point. We don't know for sure when, but it is going to happen, which I'm okay with. I will watch it to see if it helps the film at all. If it doesn't, I may be making a follow-up video. But the reason I wanted to point that out is I feel like these action scenes were kind of cut weird because of the PG-13 rating. Certain deaths or moments in the action feel weirdly censored or cut away too quick, and it just doesn't flow very well. And while maybe the R rating will enhance the action scenes, how they currently are in this PG-13 cut is very underwhelming. And honestly, it would suck if the action relies on an R rating to be good, because that's a really poor way to choreograph and plan your action scenes, especially when you're trying to build this grander universe and the PG-13 cut is what's being released first. I guarantee you the PG-13 cut is getting a larger audience than the R-rated cut when we don't even know when the R-rated cut is coming out. Third and final specific thing I just want to bring up here is the future of this franchise. If you didn't know, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, releases on April 19th, 2024, just 4 months after the release of this first film. Already, that's concerning because it is such a fast turnaround for a second film to release. I mean, that literally gives you no time to change anything about the movie. They cannot change Rebel Moon Part 2 in the next 4 months. But also based on this first film, I just feel like this franchise is already set up for failure. While I do plan to watch them and rant about them when necessary, I really have incredibly low expectations for this franchise, which just sucks. I like a lot of Snyder's stuff and expect a lot more from his take on an original Star Wars universe. This movie should have been good, and and it just sucks. It's bad. I'm pissed. Like I said, this video is just a rant. I'm mad this movie wasn't better, and it was enough to make a video on it. That's literally it. See ya.